The old Silthari warrior lifted his drink with his remaining 3 arms. His crystalline eyes glowed dim in the cantina's smoky light. The young recruits leaned forward, waiting for his words. "You want to know about humans?" Vexthul's voice was rough like grinding stone. "I will tell you about Drakmor Prime, about the day 200 humans held a fortress against 50,000 of our best warriors." The recruits looked at each other. One of them laughed. 200? That's impossible. Vexthul touched the empty space where his 4th arm used to be. "I thought so too. I was there. I lost this arm learning how wrong I was." He took a long drink and began his tale. Drakmor Prime was our strongest world. The fortress sat on a mountaintop like a metal crown. Its walls were 30 feet thick. Energy shields covered every inch. We had surrounded it with our greatest army. Inside were only 200 humans who had landed by mistake during a supply run gone wrong. Our generals laughed. They said it would take 1 day to crush these soft aliens. They were wrong. The humans had a leader named Kang Wu. He was not tall or strong-looking. He smiled too much and his eyes were always moving, always watching. We learned to fear that smile. On the first day we charged the walls. Our warriors are brave and strong. We have fought across 100 worlds, but something was wrong from the start. The fortress guns did not fire at us, they fired at each other. The humans had somehow turned the defense systems around. Instead of protecting the fortress, the guns were destroying each other. While we watched our own weapons shoot at us, the humans did something else. Music started playing from speakers all around the fortress. It was not like any music we knew. It was slow and sad and beautiful. It made our warriors stop fighting and listen. In that moment of silence, human snipers began their work. Park Hai was their best shooter. She could hit targets we could not even see. While our soldiers stood confused by the music, she picked them off one by one. Her shots were perfect, always in the head or heart, never wasted. When our warriors tried to find her, she was already gone to a new position. That first day cost us 3,000 soldiers. We got nothing. Our generals were angry. They said the humans got lucky. Tomorrow would be different. But that night the real horror began. The humans did not sleep. At least we never saw them sleep. All night long they moved around the fortress like ghosts. They left messages written in our language on rocks and threw them over the walls. The messages said things like, "We know where you sleep, and your families will cry for you." How did they learn our language so fast? We never found out. They also left pictures. Pictures of our generals eating, pictures of our supply trains, pictures of our secret weapons storage areas, pictures that should have been impossible to take. The humans were somehow watching everything we did. But the worst part was the sounds. All night, we heard human voices singing. Not together like an army would sing. Each human sang something different. Some sang children's songs. Others sang war songs. Some just hummed low and deep like the wind through caves. Our warriors could not sleep. Every time they closed their eyes, they heard human voices in the dark. On the second day, our attack was weaker. The humans had done something new. They had painted their faces with mud and blood. They looked like death spirits. When they appeared on the walls to fight, our warriors hesitated. That hesitation cost us. Choi Nam appeared with a weapon bigger than most of our soldiers. He fired it like it weighed nothing. Each shot destroyed a whole squad. But he did not just shoot randomly. He aimed for our leaders first, then our heavy weapons, then our communications. In minutes, our attack became chaos. Li Jun was their medic, but he fought like a demon. When our warriors broke through a small gate, they found him waiting. He used medical tools as weapons. Bone saws became swords. Surgical lasers became guns. He moved between our soldiers like a dance, healing his own people while cutting down ours. By the end of the second day, we had lost 8,000 more warriors. The humans had lost 12 people. Our generals called for patience. They said time was on our side. The humans would run out of food and water. They would surrender when they got hungry enough. More weeks passed. We tried everything. Gas attacks that the humans somehow filtered out. sonic weapons that they had found a way to block, cyber attacks that bounced off their systems like thrown rocks, and still every night the singing, every night the messages, every night the pictures proving the humans could see everything we did. Our warriors began to break. They jumped at shadows. They shot at each other by mistake. Some refused to go near the fortress walls. Others cried when they heard human voices in the dark. After 3 months, we had lost 30,000 soldiers. The humans still held their fortress. Our generals finally decided to use our secret weapon, orbital bombardment from space. We would destroy the entire mountain if we had to, but on the day we planned to begin bombing, something impossible happened. Yoon. So appeared in the sky flying a human fighter ship, just one ship against our entire orbital fleet. But she was not trying to fight them. She was trying to get their attention. While our ships chased her around the planet, something else happened on the ground. The humans had been digging. From 3 months. While we watched their walls and listened to their singing, they had been digging tunnels under our entire army. Hundreds of tunnels. Miles of tunnels. Tunnels that came up right in the middle of our camps. At exactly noon, Kang Wu gave a signal. 200 humans came out of the ground all at once. They appeared behind our lines in our command posts next to our supply dumps. Each human knew exactly where to go and what to do. Park Hai and her snipers took out our communications first. Choi Nam and his heavy weapons destroyed our vehicles. Lee Jun and his medical team used some kind of sleep gas to knock out thousands of our soldiers without killing them. In 6 hours, our great army was finished. Not destroyed, just beaten, so completely that we had no choice but to surrender. But here's the thing that still gives me nightmares. When it was over, Kang Wu walked up to our surviving generals. He was smiling that same quiet smile. He said something I will never forget. We could have done this on the first day. We wanted to see how long you would keep trying. That was when I understood. The humans had not been trapped in that fortress, we had been trapped outside it. Everything that happened over those 3 months they had planned from the beginning. The singing, the messages, the pictures, even the way they let us attack just enough to keep us hoping. They had been playing with us, like a cat plays with a mouse before eating it. Vexthal finished his drink and looked at the young recruits. Their faces were pale. None of them were laughing now. That is why we made peace, he said quietly. Not because we could not beat the humans, because we realized they had been letting us think we had a chance. The most dangerous thing about humans is not how well they fight. It is how well they think. They are always 3 steps ahead, and they never let you know until it is too late. One of the recruits raised a shaking hand. What happened to those humans? Kang Wu and the others? Vexthal's eyes grew darker. That young one is another story. Pour me another drink, and I will tell you about the medic who would not let anyone. D. Vexthal poured another drink with steady hands. The cantina had grown quieter. Other patrons had moved away from their table, sensing the weight of the old warrior's words. The young recruits waited in silence. You asked about the humans from Drakmor Prime, Vexthal said. Lee Jun was their medic. I met him again 2 years later during the Plague Wars. That meeting taught me something worse than fear. It taught me what humans call mercy. He paused, his crystalline eyes reflecting the dim lights. Medical Station Omicron 7 was supposed to be neutral ground. When the plague started spreading through the outer colonies, all species sent their wounded there. Humans, Silthari, Vortakians, even the gas-breathing Mithari. The station had the best medical equipment in 3 star systems. The plague was a weapon. Someone had made it in a laboratory, though we never found out who. It attacked the nervous system first. Victims would get confused, then angry, then violent. In the final stage, they would attack anything that moved. Death came after days of madness. I was there because of an injury from another battle. A human grenade had filled my leg with metal pieces. The station's doctors were trying to save the limb when the plague outbreak began. At first, it seemed small. A few patients in the isolation ward started acting strange. The medical staff followed proper procedures, quarantine protocols, safety measures, everything by the book. But this plague was different. It spread faster than anyone expected. Within 6 hours, half the station was infected. The patients in the main ward started turning violent. They attacked nurses and doctors. Some tore medical equipment apart with their bare hands. Others tried to break down doors to reach the uninfected areas. The station's commander ordered an evacuation. All medical staff were to leave immediately. Emergency ships would take them to safety. The infected patients would be left behind. It was a hard choice, but logical. Save who you can, lose the rest. All the medical staff ran for the evacuation ships. All except one. Li Jun stayed. I was in the surgical ward when I first saw him that day. He was operating on a Vortakian soldier whose arm had been torn off by an infected patient. The patient was on the table, unconscious. 3 infected humans were pounding on the surgery room door, trying to break in. Li Jun worked with one hand on the surgery while holding a plasma scalpel in the other. Every few seconds, he would glance at the door, calculate how much time he had left, then go back to connecting blood vessels. He was humming, a soft, calm tune like a mother might sing to a child. The door finally broke. 3 crazy humans rushed in, screaming and covered in blood. Li Jun did not stop operating. He used the plasma scalpel to cut down the first attacker, while his other hand kept working on the patient. The second attacker jumped on his back. Li Jun grabbed a bone saw and drove it backward without looking. The third attacker came at him from the side. This time, Li Jun had to stop the surgery. He spun around, caught the attacker's arm, and used some kind of human fighting technique to throw the infected person into the wall. The sound of breaking bones was loud in the small room. Then he went back to operating, like nothing had happened. Still humming that same soft tune, I watched him work for 40 hours straight. The evacuation ships had left. The station's power was failing. Emergency lights cast red shadows everywhere. Infected patients roamed the halls, attacking anything they found. And Li Jun moved between them like a ghost. He had set up a safe zone in the children's medical ward. The doors were stronger there, and there was only one way in. He had moved all the patients he could save into that area. Humans, Silthari, Vortakians, even 2 Mathari and their breathing tanks. 127 patients. All different species. All depending on one human to keep them alive. The infected kept trying to break into the safe zone. Li Jun had to fight them off every few hours, but he never used more force than necessary. When he killed the infected, he did it quickly and cleanly. No anger, no hate. Just sad efficiency. I asked him once during a quiet moment while he was changing my bandages why he stayed. The other medics had been right to leave. It was the smart choice. Li Jun looked at me with tired eyes. Because they are still people, he said. The plague makes them crazy, but inside they are still someone's family, someone's friend. If I leave, they die alone and afraid. Nobody should die alone. He said this while cleaning infected blood off his hands, blood from someone he had just been forced to kill to protect the others. But here is what made Li Jun truly terrifying. He was not just keeping patients alive. He was curing them. The plague had no known treatment. Every medical database said it was 100% fatal. But Li Jun was trying anyway. He mixed chemicals and tested treatments on his own blood first. When something showed promise, he would try it on volunteers. By the 3rd day, he had saved 6 patients. Their plague symptoms were gone. They were weak, but alive. On the 4th day, he saved 12 more. Word spread through the station. Infected, patients started coming to the children's ward not to attack, but to be healed. This created a new problem. Some infected patients were too far gone to understand what Li Jun was trying to do. They would attack him while he was trying to help them. Others were aware enough to want help, but too violent to control themselves. Li Jun solved this by creating what he called mercy sleep, a gas that would knock out infected patients without hurting them. He pumped it through the air system in areas where the infected gathered. When they fell asleep, he would carry them to the safe zone and start treatment. I watched him carry infected Silthari warriors twice his size. These were soldiers who could break a human in half with their bare hands. But Li Jun had studied our anatomy. He knew exactly where to inject the mercy sleep to work fastest. He would approach infected soldiers with no fear, dodge their attacks, and put them to sleep with gentle precision. By the end of the first week, he had the entire station under control. The infected were either cured or sleeping safely while being treated. The survivors were healthy and helping with medical duties. Li Jun had turned a disaster into a functioning hospital. When the rescue ships finally arrived, they found something impossible. A plague outbreak that had been completely contained by one human medic. No infected patients running wild. No bodies in the halls. Just Li Jun, still humming, still working, still saving lives. The rescue commander was a Silthari general I knew. He walked through the station in amazement. 127 patients saved, 63 plague victims cured, 0 deaths from medical neglect, all managed by one exhausted human who had not slept in 8 days. The general asked Li Jun how he had done it, how one person had accomplished what an entire medical staff could not. Li Jun was checking on a Mithari patient at the time. He looked up with those tired eyes and said, "I just treated everyone like they were my family. Humans do not abandon family." That was when I understood something important about humans. They do not just fight for victory or survival. They fight for something they call duty. Not duty to commanders or governments. Duty to the idea that suffering should be stopped, wherever they find it. But there was something else about Li Jun that was even more frightening. During those 8 days, he had been exposed to the plague constantly. He breathed infected air, touched infected blood, worked in contaminated areas. By all logic, he should have caught the disease. He never got sick, not even a little bit. When the medical experts studied him later, they found something in his blood, some kind of immunity that humans develop under extreme stress. They called it adaptive resistance, the ability to become immune to diseases while fighting them. This meant humans could walk into plague zones that would kill any other species. They could treat infected patients with no protection. They could save lives in situations where everyone else would die. After the rescue, Li Jun was offered medals and honors. Medical schools wanted to study his techniques. Governments wanted to hire him as an advisor. He turned down everything. Instead, he went back to military service. Back to being a combat medic for human soldiers. When they asked him why, he said something that still gives me nightmares. There are always more people who need help. The war is not over yet. Vexthul looked at his empty cup. His 3 remaining hands were shaking slightly. "Do you see why we made peace?" he asked the recruits. "Humans do not just refuse to surrender. They refuse to let anyone else surrender either. They will save you even if you are their enemy, even if it might kill them. They see suffering and they have to stop it. Not because of orders or logic, because that is what humans are." One of the young recruits spoke up. "But that sounds like a good thing. Why does it frighten you?" Vexthul's crystalline eyes grew dark. "Because, young one, mercy can be more terrifying than cruelty. When an enemy shows you mercy, it means they are strong enough to help you instead of killing you. It means they chose to let you live. That choice makes you wonder what else they are capable of." He stood up slowly, his war injuries making movement difficult. "Besides," he said, "I have not told you about what humans do when someone hurts their family. That is a much darker story. Pour yourself another drink. You will need it." Vexthul returned to the table after a long absence. The young recruits had waited patiently, nursing their drinks and speaking in whispers. The old warrior looked older somehow, as if the memories he was about to share had aged him just by thinking about them. "You want to hear about darkness," he said without sitting down. "About what happens when humans stop being merciful. I will tell you about Choi Nam and the 3 days that made our entire military command change their strategy for the rest of the war." He finally sat, his movements careful and deliberate. Colony world Tertius was a civilian target. mostly human, families who had come to farm the rich soil and build new homes. There were some military facilities, but nothing major, just a small garrison to keep the peace. Our war council decided to make an example of Tertius, show the humans that their colonies were not safe, make them pull troops back from the front lines to defend their homes. It was supposed to be a quick strike. Land fast, destroy key buildings, leave before reinforcements arrived. We sent 30,000 soldiers, elite urban warfare specialists trained for exactly this kind of mission, against a few hundred human civilians and maybe 50 military personnel. It should have been simple. Choi Nam was part of the human garrison. I had not seen him since Drakmor Prime, but I recognized him immediately, still carrying that massive plasma cannon like it weighed nothing, still moving with the quiet confidence that made other soldiers follow him. His squad was assigned to protect the civilian evacuation, get the families to the transport ships before our army arrived. Standard, defensive action. Nothing complicated. But our intelligence was wrong about the timing. We landed 6 hours early. The civilian evacuation was only half finished. Thousands of human families were still in the city when our troops began the assault. This changed everything. I was with the fourth wave of attackers. By the time we reached the city center, the battle had been going for 2 hours. Our first 3 waves should have secured the entire area by then. Instead, we found chaos. Our communications were full of confused reports. Squads going silent, without warning. Officers losing contact with their units. Weapons depots exploding for no apparent reason. It was like the city itself was fighting back. But there was no organized resistance, no coordinated defense, no obvious enemy forces. Just small groups of human civilians running for the evacuation ships while our soldiers tried to hunt them down. The strange part was what we were not hearing. No heavy weapons fire. No explosions from Choi Nam's plasma cannon. Our briefings had warned us about his firepower. Told us to expect massive destruction when he joined the fight. Instead, there was just silence from the military district. Our commanding general sent me with a squad to investigate, find the human garrison, determine why they had not engaged our forces yet, capture or kill their heavy weapons specialist before he could cause problems. We found their base easily enough. It was small and simple. A few buildings around a central courtyard, perfect for a quick assault. But when we got close, we realized something was wrong. The base was empty, not abandoned, empty, like everyone had just vanished. We searched every building, every room, every storage area. No bodies, no signs of fighting, no indication of where the humans had gone. Even their weapons were missing. 50 soldiers had simply disappeared without a trace. That was when we found the first message. It was written on the wall of the command center in perfect Siltari script. The words were burned into the metal with what looked like a plasma cutter. The message was simple. You came for civilians, now I come for you. It was signed with a symbol we did not recognize at first. 3 parallel lines crossed by a 4th. Later we learned it was a human military marking, Choi Nam's unit designation. Our squad leader reported the empty base to command. The general's response was immediate. Find the missing humans. They were obviously planning an ambush somewhere in the city. Use overwhelming force to flush them out. But that was not what happened. Over the next hour, our squad started disappearing. Not all at once. 1 or 2 soldiers at a time. They would be there during a radio check, then gone 10 minutes later. No gunfire, no explosions, no calls for help. Just silence where voices used to be. At first, our officers thought it was equipment failure, communication problems caused by the city's metal buildings. They sent runners to check on the missing squads. The runners never came back either. By the end of the first day, we had lost 300 soldiers. 300 elite warriors who had simply vanished without a trace. No bodies found. No witnesses. No evidence of what had happened to them. Our general was furious. He ordered a complete sweep of the city. Every building searched, every tunnel explored. Find the humans and crush them before they could kill any more of our troops. The search teams found nothing. Empty buildings, abandoned streets. No signs of human presence anywhere. It was like the entire garrison had turned into ghosts. But the messages kept appearing, burned into walls, carved into metal, written in our own blood on captured equipment. Always the same three-line symbol, always in perfect Silthari, and always with information that should have been impossible for humans to know. Your supply convoy arrives at dawn. I will be waiting. Commander Zextal likes to sleep late. He won't wake up tomorrow. Third Squad uses Tunnel 7 for patrols. Used to use Tunnel 7. These were not lucky guesses. Someone was watching everything we did, learning our patterns, studying our weaknesses, planning moves several steps ahead. The convoy attack happened exactly as predicted. Our supply trucks were traveling on a route that only our officers knew about. But when they reached the main intersection, the road exploded. Not random destruction. Surgical strikes that disabled the vehicles without killing the drivers. While our soldiers were dealing with the wreckage, a single figure appeared on a nearby rooftop. Choi Nam. He was carrying his plasma cannon, but he did not fire it. Instead, he just stood there for a moment, making sure we could see him. Then he disappeared. Our troops rushed the building where he had been standing. They found it empty except for another message. Stop hunting civilians. Start hunting me. Commander, Zextal was found dead in his quarters the next morning. No signs of forced entry, no witnesses, no alarms triggered. He had been killed with a single precise strike to a pressure point that only human medical knowledge would have revealed. The pattern continued for 3 days. Our soldiers would patrol in groups for safety, but somehow, one or two would always end up separated from the others. Lost in the maze of city streets, cut off by debris that had not been there minutes before, they would call for help. Their squad mates would rush to find them, but they would only discover another message burned into a wall, another promise that Choi Nam was still watching, still hunting. Our troops began to break down. These were veteran soldiers who had fought on dozens of worlds, but they had never faced an enemy like this, someone who could be anywhere, who knew their every move before they made it. Some soldiers started refusing orders, others jumped at shadows. A few shot at empty buildings, convinced they had seen movement. The careful discipline of our urban warfare specialist collapsed into paranoid chaos. On the third day, our general made a desperate decision: orbital bombardment. Destroy the entire city from space rather than continue losing soldiers to an invisible enemy. But as our ships prepared to fire, something impossible happened. Choi Nam appeared on our flagship. Not his ship, not a transport, not a fighter craft. Choi Nam himself, somehow standing in the bridge of our most heavily defended vessel, 200 miles above the planet's surface. He was not wearing a spacesuit, not carrying breathing equipment, not using any technology that should have allowed him to survive in the vacuum of space. But there he was, plasma cannon in hand, looking perfectly calm. Our bridge crew reached for their weapons. Choi Nam raised one hand to stop them. In the other hand, he held a small device that we recognized immediately, a ship's self-destruct activator. I need to talk to your general, he said in perfect Silthari. His voice was quiet and polite, like he was asking for directions. Our general was too shocked to speak at first. A human had somehow teleported onto his flagship and was holding the entire crew hostage with their own destruction device. It should have been impossible. Choi Nam waited patiently for a response. When none came, he continued speaking. Your soldiers have been hunting my people for 3 days. Families with children, old people trying to evacuate, civilians who never hurt anyone. This stops now. The general finally found his voice. You are one man against an entire fleet. You cannot threaten us. Choi Nam's expression did not change. I am not threatening you. I am explaining the situation. Your fleet has families too. Crew members with children waiting at home. If you destroy the city, those families will grieve. I want to prevent that grief. He gestured toward the planet below. I have been letting your soldiers live for 3 days, taking them prisoner instead of killing them. All 800 of your missing troops are safe in underground shelters, fed, medicated, treated well. They will be returned when you leave. Our general's jaw dropped. 800 prisoners? We had thought they were dead. How? He asked. How did one soldier capture 800 of our best troops? Choi Nam's eyes were sad when he answered. The cantina was completely empty now except for Vexthul and the young recruits. Even the bartender had gone home, leaving them alone with the dim lights and the weight of untold stories. The old warrior sat in silence for a long time before speaking. The final story is the hardest to tell, he said, because it explains why our people chose peace when we could have kept fighting, why our greatest generals recommended surrender when victory was still possible. You will understand why humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy, and why they are also the most necessary. He touched the empty space where his fourth arm used to be. Kepler Station was our last hope. A massive orbital platform that controlled the most important trade route in 3-star systems. Whoever held Kepler Station could control the flow of supplies to half the known galaxy. It was supposed to be our final stronghold, the place where we would make our stand against human expansion. The station was a fortress in space. Weapons. Platforms surrounded it like a metal moon. Energy shields covered every approach. 50,000 of our best soldiers defended it. Our war council believed it was impossible to take by force. The humans tried for 6 months using normal tactics, fleet battles in open space, assault ships against our defenses, direct attacks that we could see coming and prepare for. We stopped them every time, destroyed their ships, captured their soldiers, proved that Kepler Station could not be taken. But then something changed. The human attacks stopped. For 2 weeks, nothing. No ships, no probes, no communication. Just empty space around our fortress. Our commanders thought the humans had given up. Finally realized that some targets were too strong to attack. They celebrated, planned victory parades, began talking about expanding their own offensive operations. They were wrong. The humans had not given up. They had been planning. And when they struck, it was with all 5 of the warriors I had met before. Kang Wu, Park Hai, Li Jun, Choi Nam, and Yoon So. Together. I did not know they were coming until it was too late to stop them. The first sign was when our long-range sensors went quiet. Not damaged, not destroyed, just quiet. Like someone had politely asked them to stop working. Park Hai had been floating in space for 2 weeks, in a modified spacesuit with life support for extended operations. She had positioned herself in the sensor array's blind spot and systematically disabled each detection system with precision shots from her rifle. While our sensors were going dark, Yoon So appeared in a ship we had never seen before. It looked like human design but moved like nothing in our databases. She flew straight at our heaviest weapons platform and simply absorbed every shot fired at her. The platform's energy beams hit her ship and bounced off. Our plasma cannons struck her hull and scattered like rain. She had some kind of shielding technology that turned our most powerful weapons into light shows, but she was not trying to destroy the platform. She was keeping it busy, making our gunners focus on her while something else happened behind them. Choi Nam had been hiding inside the weapon platform for 3 days. Not outside, inside. He had somehow gotten past our security, our scanners, our guard patrols, and had been living in the maintenance tunnels while studying our defensive systems. When Yoon So started her distraction, Choi Nam began his real work. He moved through the platform like he owned it, not destroying things, reprogramming them, turning our own weapons around to point at our other defenses. In 20 minutes, our outer defensive ring was shooting at itself. Automated systems that had protected us for months were systematically destroying each other, under Choi Nam's careful direction. While our defenses collapsed, Kang Wu and Li Jun approached the station in a single small transport. No weapons, no armor, no obvious threat, just 2 humans in a civilian ship asking for permission to dock. Our traffic control laughed. 2 soldiers wanting to surrender, they thought. It happened sometimes when humans realized how hopeless their situation was. Standard procedure was to allow them to land and then process them as prisoners, but these humans were not surrendering. The moment their ship docked, everything changed. Kang Wu had brought something our scanners had not detected. Some kind of device that interfaced directly with our station's computer systems. Within minutes, he had access to everything. Security cameras, environmental controls, communication, networks, life support systems. He did not use this access to hurt anyone. Instead, he began talking to our soldiers, not threatening them, not demanding surrender, just talking. His voice came through every speaker on the station. "My name is Kang Wu," he said in perfect Silthari. "I am here with my team to capture this station, but I want to do it without anyone dying. If you cooperate, everyone goes home to their families tonight." Our soldiers thought he was joking. 5 humans against 50,000. But then the lights went out. Emergency lighting came on immediately. But now the station felt different, smaller, more vulnerable. Kang Wu's voice continued from the speakers. "I have control of your life support systems, your artificial gravity, your air recycling, your water supplies. I could kill everyone on this station in minutes, but I won't, because humans don't wage war against families." He paused. When he spoke again, his voice was gentler. "I know many of you have children, spouses, parents waiting for you to come home. So do we. This war has gone on long enough. Let's end it today without more grief." Our commanding general tried to regain control. He ordered troops to find the humans and eliminate them. But something strange was happening. Our soldiers were not following orders the way they used to. Li Jun had been moving through the station's medical bay, not as an invader, as a doctor. He was treating wounded Silthari soldiers who had been injured in previous battles. Soldiers our own medical staff had not been able to help. Word spread quickly through the station. A human medic was healing our people, using advanced techniques that our doctors did not know, saving lives that our own medical system had given up on. Soldiers who had been ready to fight began asking questions. If humans cared enough to heal their enemies, what did that say about this war? Were they really the monsters our propaganda claimed? Meanwhile, Park Hai had done something that defied belief. She had somehow gotten into our command center without anyone seeing her, not by stealth or violence, by simply walking through the front door while invisible. She appeared behind our general during a strategy meeting, not pointing a weapon at him, not threatening him, just standing there calmly while he planned the defense against her own team. "Excuse me," she said politely. "I think we need to talk." The general and his staff spun around, reaching for their weapons. But Park Hai held up her hands to show she was not armed. "I am not here to hurt anyone," she said. "I am here to show you something." She activated a holographic display that showed the station from the outside. Our defensive platforms were still shooting at each other. Our sensors were still offline. Our life support was under human control. In 30 minutes, 5 humans had taken apart defenses that had been months in the building. "We could have destroyed this station from a distance," Park Hai said. "Blown it up from space with all hands on board, but we came here instead. Risked our own lives to capture it intact. Do you know why?" Our general was too stunned to answer. "Because this station has 50,000 people on it. 50,000 Silthari with families who love them. We will not murder 50,000 people just to win a war." She gestured to the hologram. "But we have proven we can take this station whenever we want. Your defenses cannot stop us. Your weapons cannot hurt us. Your security cannot contain us, so let's discuss terms." That was when I understood what the humans had really done. They had not just captured our station, they had captured it perfectly. No deaths, no injuries, no destruction of critical systems. They had proven they could defeat us while showing mercy to everyone involved. But the demonstration was not over yet. Yunso landed her impossible ship in our main hangar. When she emerged, she was not alone. She had brought representatives from a dozen other species. Vortakians, Mithari, even some races I did not recognize. "These are our allies," she announced to the assembled station personnel. "Species that chose to work with humans instead of fighting them. They want to tell you about the peace we are offering." What followed was the strangest diplomatic meeting in military history. In the middle of a space station that had just been captured, with human soldiers controlling every system, representatives from across the galaxy gathered to explain why peace with humans was not just possible but beneficial. The Vortakians talked about human medical technology that had cured diseases their own doctors could not treat. The Mathari described human engineering that had improved their ships and habitats. Other species shared stories of human aid during natural disasters and humanitarian crises. Humans do not want to conquer the galaxy, the Vortakian ambassador explained. They want to protect it. From war, from suffering, from preventable death. When they fight, it is to stop greater violence. When they show mercy, it is because they believe all species deserve to survive and grow. Our general listened to these testimonies with growing amazement. Everything we had been told about human intentions was wrong. They were not trying to destroy other civilizations, they were trying to save them. The cantina was almost empty now. Only Vexthul and the young recruits remained at their table. The old Silthari warrior had been quiet for several minutes, staring into his drink. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer than before. Tatini, third time I met one of those humans from Drakmor Prime. I learned something new about fear. Real fear. The kind that makes you question everything you think you know about physics and possibility. He shifted in his chair, the metal parts of his old injuries creaking. The nebula of screaming winds was supposed to be our secret weapon. A vast cloud of gas and space dust where sensors did not work properly. Ships could hide there for months without being detected. Our fleet used it as a base for surprise attacks on human supply lines. We had 200 warships hidden in that nebula. Battle cruisers, destroyers, fighter squadrons. The largest Silthari battle fleet ever assembled. Our plan was simple. Wait for a human convoy to pass by, then strike fast and hard before they could call for help. The convoy appeared right on schedule. 12 human cargo ships with only 6 escort fighters. Easy targets. Our admiral gave the order to attack. 200 ships against 18. It should have been over in minutes, but one of those escort fighters was piloted by Yoon So. I did not know her name at first. I just saw a single human fighter break away from the convoy and fly straight toward our fleet. Not retreating, not calling for backup. Just one small ship charging at 200 warships like it thought it could. When our fighters moved to intercept, 50 ships against 1. But something was wrong from the start. Yoon So moved like she knew where every shot was going to be before it was fired. She flew between energy beams that should have been impossible to avoid. Her ship twisted and spun in ways that should have torn it apart, but she was not just dodging. She was leading our fighters into each other. Every time she changed direction, our pilots would follow. They would end up shooting at each other instead of her. In the first 10 minutes, we lost 12 fighters to friendly fire. Yoon So had not fired a single shot yet. Our admiral was getting angry. He ordered more ships to join the fight. 100 fighters now chasing one human. But the result was the same. More collisions, more friendly fire, more confusion. Yoon So flew through the middle of our formation like she was dancing. Then her ship's communications went silent. We thought we had damaged her radio somehow, but later we learned the truth. A piece of debris had hit her fighter early in the battle. It had destroyed her communication system completely. For the next 17 hours, Yoon So fought our entire fleet with no way to talk to anyone. No radio contact with her convoy, no tactical updates, no calls for help, just silence. But somehow she kept fighting better than before, without radio, chatter to distract her Yoon. So began using her ship like a language. She would fly in specific patterns to tell the convoy ships where to go. A loop meant turn left. A barrel roll meant accelerate. A sudden dive meant take cover. The human convoy learned to read her movements like words. This should not have been possible. Ship-to-ship coordination requires constant communication. Battle tactics need detailed planning. But Yoon So was commanding the entire convoy using only the way she flew, and it was working. Every time our battle cruisers tried to target the cargo ships, Yoon So would appear between them and the target. She would fly so close to our big guns that they could not fire without hitting her. But she was too small and fast to hit directly, so our heavy weapons stayed silent while she protected the convoy. Our admiral decided to ignore the fighter and focus on the cargo ships. If we could destroy the convoy, one human pilot would not matter. He ordered a full attack. Every ship was to fire at once. overwhelming firepower that no small fighter could block. Yoon so somehow knew what we were planning. Seconds before we opened fire, she did something that still makes no sense. She flew her damaged fighter straight at our flagship, not to attack it, to communicate with it. She used her ship's emergency lights to flash a message in standard galactic code. The message was simple. Your crews have families. So do mine. Let's end this without more death. Our admiral laughed. One human pilot was offering terms to a fleet of 200 ships. He ordered all weapons to fire immediately. That was when Yunso showed us what humans mean by desperation. She had been studying our formation for hours, learning how our ships moved together, memorizing which captains were aggressive and which were careful. She knew our fleet better than some of our own officers. When we opened fire, she did not try to block the shots. Instead, she flew to exact positions that turned our weapons against each other. She used our own firepower like a tool. A blast meant for a cargo ship would hit our destroyer when Yunso moved at the right moment. Missiles fired at the convoy would track her ship until she led them back into our cruisers. Energy beams aimed at human targets would cross each other and overload when she flew through the intersection point. In 30 minutes of combat, we destroyed more of our own ships than the humans did. 15 Silthari vessels lost to friendly fire. All because one pilot knew exactly where to be and when to be there. But the worst part was still coming. Our sensors detected damage to Yunso's fighter. Her oxygen tank had been punctured early in the battle. She was slowly running out of air. Her life support would fail in less than 6 hours. Any rational pilot would have retreated then, tried to reach safety before the air ran out. But Yunso stayed. She kept fighting, kept protecting the convoy, kept turning our weapons against us. As her oxygen got lower, she should have gotten weaker. Slower, less effective. Instead, she seemed to get more dangerous. Her movements became sharper. Her timing became perfect. It was like running out of air made her think more clearly. Our pilot started calling her the Silent Death. She had not spoken a word in hours, but she was everywhere at once. Every attack we planned, she was ready. Every trap we set, she avoided. Every weakness we tried to exploit, she had already covered. By the 8th hour, our pilots were afraid to engage her. They had seen too many ships destroyed by their own weapons when they tried to fight her. Some of our fighters started staying back, refusing orders to attack. Our formation was falling apart. Our admiral finally decided to use our secret weapon, a gravity bomb that would destroy everything in a large area. The convoy, Yunso, and probably some of our own ships too, but it would end the battle. Yunso must have sensed something was wrong. Maybe she saw our ships moving into firing position. Maybe she just understood tactics well enough to guess our plan. But somehow she knew. For the first time in hours, she broke away from the convoy. Her fighter flew straight toward our flagship again. But this time she was not trying to communicate. She was trying to stop the gravity bomb. One small human fighter against a battle cruiser the size of a small moon. It should have been suicide. But Yunso had been watching our ship for hours. She knew where the weapons were located. She knew which systems were critical. And she knew exactly how much damage her fighter could do before it was destroyed. She flew into our flagship's hangar bay at full speed, past all the defensive guns, through the energy barriers, into the heart of our ship. Then she overloaded her fighter's reactor. The explosion was not big enough to destroy our flagship, but it was perfectly placed. It took out our main weapons control. Our gravity bomb became useless metal. Our ability to coordinate the fleet was gone. In the confusion that followed, the human convoy escaped. 12 cargo ships full of supplies that would keep human colonies alive for months, all saved by one pilot who had been fighting on borrowed air for the last 6 hours. We found Yunso in the wreckage of her fighter. She was unconscious, but alive. Barely. Her oxygen had run out, 20 minutes before she crashed into our ship. She had been flying on willpower alone. Our medical team tried to save her. Not because they cared about humans, but because they wanted to understand how she had done the impossible. How one pilot had defeated an entire fleet. When Yunso woke up 3 days later, The first thing she asked was whether the convoy had escaped safely, not about her own injuries, not about her destroyed fighter, just whether the people she was protecting were safe. Our admiral went to question her personally. He wanted to know her secrets, how she had predicted our moves so perfectly, how she had turned our own weapons against us, how she had fought for hours without air to breathe. Yoon so looked at him with calm eyes and said something that haunts me still. I just listened to what your ships were telling me. Metal has a sound when it moves. Energy has a pattern when it fires. If you pay attention, everything tells you what it wants to do next. She had been reading our intentions from the sound of our engines and the rhythm of our weapons. While fighting for her life with no communication and no air, she had been listening to our fleet like it was music. Our admiral asked her why she had not retreated when her oxygen started running low. Any sensible pilot would have saved themselves. Yoon so smiled. It was a tired, sad smile. Because those cargo ships carry medicine for human children. I have a daughter back home. She is 6 years old. If I let those ships get destroyed, other children might die. I could not explain that to my daughter when I got home. She had been thinking about her child while flying impossible maneuvers.